All right. So much thankful to the grand creator, getting things done around these parts. But here's a question. How are you worshiping? That's the question. How are you worshiping? Are you worshiping out of obligation? Are you worshiping out of fear of going to everlasting fire? Or do you worship God with just love? I say that to say this. Most people worship God because they don't want the consequence of it. But what if God never promised you a heaven or a hell? What if God just said, worship me because you love me? The fact that I've just given you this should be enough. That would absolutely be right. Wouldn't it be right for somebody to say, hey, I've given you this. This is what I've given you. Thank me enough for it. Because of me, you got a chance to experience love, light. You got a chance to experience feelings and emotions, things that'll help you grow in life. Would that be enough? Even with the promise of an afterlife, which there's no guarantee to, but even like, to most people, but even with the promise of an afterlife, most people cannot even seem to appreciate the finer things. I'm gonna tell you why we don't appreciate it. We got lungs so we can breathe this air with ease. Think of somebody on a breathing machine who can't freely do this. You know what they did? More times than not, they probably took their lungs for granted, smoking cigarettes all the time. What about the people that have cirrhosis of the liver? They probably took their liver for granted. What if somebody who cardiovascular ain't on point and they can't move around like they want, or their heartbeat is just so weak? Excuse me. Maybe because those people didn't take the time to understand the value of their ticker. So when you're not taking time to embrace greatness and walk in positivity, that means now your worship comes with condition. So I'm not here to tell you what religion to follow. I'm not here to tell you to be a Muslim. I'm not here to tell you to be a Christian. I'm not here to tell you to do none of those things. I'm here to say whatever God you worship, if you're going to worship that God, then worship that God because you want to. Worship that God because you feel like that's what you have to do. Don't worship that God because you're afraid of the consequence. Because guess what? In literal speaking, your heart, when you die, and if your religion is real, then your heart is what's to be measured. When they say God reads your heart. So guess what? If you worshiping me just to kiss ass, or you're worshiping me just because you don't want to burn forever, or you're worshiping me just because there's no afterlife promise. If you worshiping me for those reasons, then you're not really for me. You're only doing what I'm telling you to do because I scared you into it. And that's what I got against religion. Most religions scare you into worshiping that religion. And it scares you to leave that religion because if you do, you're doomed. That's the thing. That's an abuser that'll beat the hell out of you every day. And if you leave them, you're nothing without them. So if you're going to worship God, worship them without the fear of consequence. Forget about hell. Forget about if I don't do what God say, this is going to happen. Forget about that. Worship because that's what you're supposed to do. Continue to embrace greatness and walk in positivity, and let the light in you shine so bright, illuminate the path for others to see in themselves. If you don't go within, you'll always go without.